Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. We are coming off of a phenomenal drive in the last episode, getting some points for both cars with Williams as we come into my favorite weekend on the calendar, Singapore. Love this circuit so much, so excited to bring our Williams around here, but not quite sure what to expect coming off of a 5th place effort. As well this weekend, finally, we're not taking any grid penalties. A nice change of scenery there, as we are going to actually get to start where we qualify this weekend. As you see, the beautiful Singapore scenery. This weekend, unfortunately, Nico Hülkenberg out with illness. He will miss the whole weekend. Future Haas driver next season, Ollie Behrman, will be replacing him behind the wheel for this weekend. We will see what Behrman can do. This will be his second race behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car now, and his first for the Haas F1 team. So excited to see what he will be able to do on this Singapore Grand Prix weekend. As well, contract talks for me have been ramping up. We still don't have a confirmed ride for next season, and we only have a few races left on the season. I'll let you guys take a brief listen on a conversation we actually had following Azerbaijan with our team principal of James Vowles.
That was an incredible drive, Gary. Listen, I want you in our car again next year. You don't have anything with Ferrari for next season, and Mercedes likely already has a driver signed. This is your best bet going forward. I'm willing to offer you another one-year deal at £1.5 million. Think about it and get back to me.
So there is the offer from James Vowles and Williams. Another one-year deal at £1.5 million. Do we take it? Well, right now that's our only offer on the table. But I do think if we can put another couple of good races together, we might be able to at least have some conversations with some other teams. Obviously, only time's going to tell there. But we're running out of time quickly to finalize a deal, so we don't want to waste too much time going forward here as we roll through into Saturday evening under the lights here in Singapore for qualifying. Now, I had high hopes coming into this race. I love the circuit of Singapore. Didn't start off pretty. Actually screwed up turn 1, lifted enough to avoid invalidating the lap, but that did not make things easy for the rest of this first lap here now, as we're abusing the curbs, attacking them as much as we can. This Williams has been continuing to improve as the season has gone on. We're one of the better midfield teams now, and we scored so many points in Baku that has set us up really well. Red Bull's dominance appears to be kind of ending. That's going to be something to pay attention to again this weekend. Perez continues to struggle. What's his future at Red Bull look like after 2 wins early in the season has been kind of, really emptied out that effect of those wins by his struggles over the rest of this season now. As we come through into our second lap in Q1, we found about 0.6 of a second gain nearly, went down to about 5.5, but it was enough to put us through into Q2. Albon P11, we barely squeezed through over Devin Butler, Valtteri Bottas, Ollie Behrman in replacement of the ill Hülkenberg in P18, Ocon and Ricciardo in last. Could this be Ricciardo's last race in Formula 1? He has had a horrific season, and we'll have to wait and see what's going on there. But Red Bull and that whole program, they are certainly feeling some pressure right now as we come through into our lap here in Q2. Piastri, Russell right now outside of the top 10, but that's only after one lap. We only had enough for only a fresh set to do one lap here and hope for the best at this point, and it was a pretty competitive lap. I was really happy actually with how this was going, and as we come to the end of the lap, of course, just really delicate on the throttle through here, hard on the gas now, and then of course a double left sweeping corner, and hard on the gas to the line. It's P8 and it would stick. It would put us P9. Albon P11 just misses out barely on Q3, but Williams showing up with more pace again. Piastri P12, Casper Ackerman 13, Stroll out in Q2. Gasly as well inside the top 10 as we come through into Q3 now. An impressive qualifying performance once again, and it's looking like maybe that Baku pace wasn't quite a fluke like we thought it was going to be with the Williams car, which is so good in the straight line speed. But yeah, mean, we were showing some pace again. Albon P11 just barely missing out here on Q2, or on Q3, I should say. But I knew already my lap was going to be 10th, no matter really what I did probably. And as we come through the last few corners, sure enough, we're going to cross the stripe and it's P10. So we'll start Singapore from the 10th starting position, and Charles Leclerc takes pole as he and Ferrari still seek their first win on the season. Verstappen, Norris, second and third. Let's get ready to go racing. Perez back on form in P4.
Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. Things have changed slightly around the Marina Bay circuit for 2023. 4 corners have been taken out, the lap length reduced to just over 3 miles. That might be a welcome relief to the drivers, might be even more of a relief for their brakes. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Perez, Sainz, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Golden Boy, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Ackermann, Stroll, Tsunoda, Butler, Bottas, Behrman, Ocon, Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Lewis Hamilton with the grid penalty starting at the back of the grid. We're actually going to be opting for the alternate strategy, which is apparently 1 second quicker than the default. So 2-stop race starting on mediums, going to mediums, then going to hards to finish it out. Let's get ready to go racing.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out.
Only 2 cars starting on hards. It's the pair of Red Bulls, Verstappen and Perez. Everybody else electing to start on the medium compound tire. How will the Red Bulls hold on in the opening laps?
As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Right, guys, thank you for the hard work this weekend. Of course, last weekend out was incredible. Let's try to keep that up here this weekend in Singapore.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Let's have a great race.
So, we're pulling up to our grid slot here. Albon moves up because of the Lewis Hamilton penalty, and he's actually right behind myself now. Hamilton lines up the back of the grid with Daniel Ricciardo. Esteban Ocon back there as well. I mean, all the way down there, while his teammate of Gasly with a great effort up there in P8, just behind Fernando Alonso. We are Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen lead the way as we're lights out, and it's a great launch off the grid. We're going to get 3 wide with Alonso and Gasly on the run into turn number 1, and immediately Norris puts the fight to the leaders. Now as I go a little bit wide in the background, we don't really lose much out of it, but we didn't gain anything either. We come out behind Alonso as well as Gasly alongside our teammate of Albon. They're side by side for the lead. Norris looking for his first win in Formula 1, fresh off of Piastri's second win of his young F1 career last episode in Baku. Not enough to get the lead, and here comes Verstappen now on the hard compound rubber. Up the inside into the 90-degree left-hander. The Monegasque of Leclerc runs away while Norris stays clear. Verstappen, Perez settles in 4th. Carlos Sainz in P5. His future still undetermined here in Formula 1. What does it look like? I'm sure he's licking his chops at the struggles of Sergio Perez recently, but a ride at Mercedes is still not out of the question. It sounds like we will be getting news on who will be piloting that open Mercedes seat alongside George Russell as soon as next episode. I don't think I've got a chance at that ride, unfortunately, now as we're up on the back of Pierre Gasly here through this first and opening lap. You see the engine icon already on the right side, so I did have some worn components, but I wasn't too concerned because Singapore straight line speed is not everything, so you can kind of get away with struggling on straight line speed a little bit. So we will be changing some parts next episode, and that will mean another grid penalty, unfortunately, going into Circuit of the Americas. Obviously, straight line speed, very important on that long back straightaway at Circuit of the Americas. In that front straightaway, it's important as well. So that's going to be a really interesting one. Not a huge fan of that circuit, so we'll see how that one goes, but still hoping for a competitive race. Looking on the track map here on lap 2, you can see the Red Bulls actually struggling on the hard compound rubber right now, and they are backing up everybody here inside the top 10. Meanwhile, Leclerc and Norris, they are running away from everyone, just saying see you later, and already making their good fortune for the rest of this Grand Prix. They're already sitting in a pretty good spot to be P1, P2 in whatever order, because they can't quite get away from each other. Norris is able to keep hot on the tail of Charles Leclerc, but as we come to lap 4, I myself kind of just settled in. I don't quite have enough pace yet to really put an attack on Pierre Gasly. Albon's keeping me honest there, about half a second back. Piastri in P11, fresh off that win in Azerbaijan. It wasn't a fluke, it was a straight up win. Of course, McLaren really benefited on the strategy, being able to put softs on both of their cars on the final pit stop. Meanwhile, Leclerc had hards, Verstappen had mediums. They were able to just, blow the doors off of those guys. Norris didn't quite get to Verstappen, but now as we come to lap 5, you can see Gasly starting to drop off of the back of Fernando Alonso. This is going to be my opportunity. He's now lost DRS to the Spaniard. So another lap or so, I think we're going to have an opportunity to be able to pass the Alpine and maybe bring Albon through with us shortly after. Right now is Ollie Behrman currently in his second race, first race for Haas, at the very back of the grid right now in dead last, P20 unfortunately for the young British driver. As you can see on the track map, look at the Red Bulls, and they are struggling so hard on the hard compound tire. And we'll see if they can, fight back a little bit later in the Grand Prix as yellow flags are out, and I believe it's maybe behind us. It shows 2 sectors. That's just a Singapore glitch in this game, but it's Ocon. It's Esteban Ocon starting towards the back, and he's going to be out early on. The Frenchman done for the night. Behrman got stuck behind him. Hamilton still in P18. He's really gone nowhere throughout the course of this Grand Prix. Only gained a couple of positions now. Singapore obviously not an easy circuit to overtake at, and we are very well seeing that here now as we continue to pressure the other Frenchman, of course, that goes alongside Esteban Ocon. That's Pierre Gasly now, as we are all over the back of him, starting at lap 8 at this point. Now the Red Bulls continue to struggle for pace, and it's not going to be long, I think, until they start to even fight each other, trying to get on with it now. Perez putting some pressure on Verstappen, as we are putting some pressure on Gasly. Finally, an overtaking opportunity now to the left side, down the DRS straightaway, and this is going to put us up a position now. Easy overtake complete now, as we actually go a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, just barely kept it within the track limits, up into now the 8th position, as we put a car between ourselves and our Williams teammate of Alex Albon, as we continue to watch the Red Bulls back things up. And as we come towards the end of lap 8, we're starting to reel in Fernando Alonso, George Russell just a little bit. The reason that we're reeling them in isn't really because we're faster than them, it's because they're getting stuck behind this Red Bull train. And as we came to lap 9, halfway through the lap or so, we were within a second. Look at this train that's being formed by the Red Bulls. Now this is really spicing things up. They can't seem to get those hard compound tires to work within that operating optimal window, and that's perfect for us because we are all over the back of these guys now as we come to the end of lap 9, starting lap 10. I believe these Red Bulls are about to get after it with each other. Our pit window opens this lap, so we will be making our first of 2 pit stops on the first or on the conclusion of this 10th lap of 31 laps. Such a long Grand Prix here now. Here we go. Perez all over the back of Verstappen, nearly contact. He looks around the right hand side. He's going to get the job done. The Dutchman drops into P4. Perez back on form in Singapore, up into P3, saying I belong in this Red Bull next season. I'm here to keep my seat, and he's doing a good job showcasing why he belongs in that Red Bull tonight now under the lights in Singapore, as we continue to maintain within DRS of these cars in front. Norris and Leclerc, they now come into the pits. They are on the 2-stop strategy. You can try the 1-stop, and I'm sure the Red Bulls might be trying to do that, which is going to be interesting. So Leclerc and Norris, they come out in open track, which is very fortunate for them, as a lot of cars are going to be pitting over the next few laps. I actually stayed out a little bit longer, so lap 11 at this point. Of course, our pit window was lap 10. We're pitting right here at the conclusion of this 11th lap now. The Red Bulls go into the front. It's Perez and Verstappen. They are going to be running long. It looks like Alonso's staying out, and so is George Russell, but everybody else in this top 10 coming in right now, including myself. So we'll get these mediums off, put another set of mediums on, and we will of course be ending this race on hards. We actually come out inside of the Mercedes. We're going to get in front of the Mercedes of Russell, a bit of a slow stop, and there we go, a position gained. And we end up losing a spot too though, because Pierre Gasly pit before us, and he's going to get out in front of me and Carlos Sainz, making a big difference on rubber over the course of a lap. Now the fresh tires just take off. George Russell gets past us with the DRS, of course not fighting him. That is a total different race now. We still don't have the raw pace to fight a Mercedes now, but Perez, Verstappen, and Alonso, Alex Albon as well are all on the one-stop strategy. I believe Lance Stroll as well is in the same boat. They are all trying to one-stop this race. So the question now is the one-stop going to be favorable, or is the two-stop going to be favorable? I think the tire fall-off is enough to where the two-stop is probably going to be the way to go here, but of course we're going to find out probably over the course of the next 10 laps. We'll have a good idea when we get to about lap 24, 25, if the two-stop was the way or if the one-stop was the way. Now, Pierre Gasly, 2 seconds up the road. Actually, Albon pits now, not even halfway through the Grand Prix. He's going to be putting on, I would imagine, a set of hards. Yes, he is. Alonso makes his stop as well. So they are trying to go to the end from here on the hards. They ran just shy of half the race now. Russell trying to put some pressure on Gasly. Didn't quite work in his favor. Now he continues to pressure the Frenchman. So we're up to P9 following that little pit cycle there. But Verstappen as well as Perez still have to make their pit stops. They are on the hard tires, so they're going to be running long. As now Lance Stroll comes into the pits, making his first and only pit stop as well. As you can see, George Russell up the inside of Gasly, going for that position. Gasly not making it easy. Passing is a big difficulty at this circuit. The two Red Bulls still very closely tied together now as we come through down the DRS straight. Russell finally through on Gasly. He'll take P6 as Gasly drops to P7 immediately. We're going to have an overtaking opportunity. Looking to the left side of the Frenchman will go the long way around, and that'll be a position gain for us. We are putting on a clinic here. It's a great race going again, just like Baku. Not quite on the same level of Baku, but still nonetheless an impressive drive we're putting up here right now in P7. But of course, after we make our second pit stop, we're going to have to run down everybody that's on the one stop, including our teammate of Alex Albon and a few others such as Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, the Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez, who I'm sure are going to be far out of reach no matter what, even if they are lacking some pace a little bit later in this race. Now as we have a crash, Sergio Perez has gone round all on his own. No safety car. We remain green, but Perez, you see it there, lost it all on his own, leading the Grand Prix right in front of Verstappen. Leclerc was able to slip through, and Norris lost a bunch of time, and Perez gets it going. He's only about 2 seconds up the road on us now, and that is big right there. Perez fighting to keep his ride in Formula 1 makes a huge error after having an impressive night of racing, and it's been completely thrown away now. Russell passes Perez, and Perez is struggling. He's on old hard rubber, and now we are closing in on him pretty quickly. As you can see, the gap is just very, very quickly dwindling for Perez, who's in trouble now. He needs to get to the pits. Look how quickly we're gaining on him. We can't waste much time. We gotta get going. We're going to have to make an aggressive move. We're all over the back of the Mexican driver, and now as we head into the hairpin, a big lunge up the inside of the Red Bull, and again, passing a Red Bull of Sergio Perez like we did in the later stages of Azerbaijan last episode in the streets of Baku. Perez in trouble now as he still has to make a pit stop. We as well have to come into the pits, but we're, virtually on an even playing field with the Red Bull now, considering his error. Verstappen now pits from the lead. I don't think that's going to be a winning strategy for Red Bull, starting on the hards one stop. I don't think the one stop's a winning strategy in general. Leclerc, Norris 1, 2, Carlos Sainz 3rd, Russell 4th, and we find ourselves somehow in P5, but we will probably be around 8th or 9th once we make our second pit stop, and then have to chase down all the one-stoppers now as we focus in on just trying to run away from Gasly, but it wasn't really working. Gasly was keeping me honest. He's within a second of us consistently here. in that Alpine. How about Casper Ackermann in the Haas up in P7, his final Singapore Grand Prix? We now, of course, know who's going to be part of his replacement. It's Ollie Behrman, Esteban Ocon, of course, going to that team. It was announced last episode. Devin Butler, Rookie of the Year candidate against myself. He will be going to the Alpine F1 team next season in place of Ocon, so he'll be alongside Pierre Gasly. Now, just over 10 to go, Leclerc comes in for his final pit stop. He goes on to the hards. As well, Norris is going to pit for the hard compound tire as well. Sainz and Russell, they're going to run another time around. We're going to box the same lap here as Leclerc and Norris are exiting their boxes. So we'll come in, get our hard compound tire on the car, and run hard to the end of this Grand Prix. So can we put together another Azerbaijan type performance now? Actually, we come out all the way down in 14th place. Not what I expected. I thought we're going to be way further up the order, but still not concerned. We're definitely in position to score some points here before this Grand Prix comes to an end now. And here it comes as well. Sergio Perez up on us now. He's on that medium compound. He's going to probably pass us, but I think we can hang on enough to get him at the end of this race. Sainz now into the pits. George Russell following suit. Alonso to the lead on the one-stop strategy. He is well ahead of the Red Bulls on that one stop. What a drive from the Spaniard of Alonso, who's had some rough races here as of late. We're going to pass a bunch of cars, move up into P9. So now, here's the task at hand. We're running down Stroll for a position on the one stop. Here comes Perez. Russell's made his pit stop. He's going to try and run away. But we are looking to get Stroll as well as Albon. And I think that's probably all we're going to be able to get who's on the one stop here before this race is over. And maybe Perez, though. His tires are going to be wearing. He's got more laps on those mediums now as we have a yellow flag out. It's Devin Butler who's going to be out of the Grand Prix. It's been a miserable last handful of races for him as the Kick Sauber team's really fallen off when it comes to the R&D, and it's been showing here as of late. I mean, Butler was putting up great performances, scoring points even, and of course Kick Sauber fell off a cliff ever since that, and it's been quite frustrating for Butler, who I'm sure is very excited to get to his new team at Alpine next season now as well. Regulation changes will be coming from the sounds of it for next season, so stay tuned on that as we might have some news as soon as next episode. Now Perez gets the job done on Stroll. I nearly made a move, couldn't quite pounce on it right there. We're going to have to be patient, and as we come through the hairpin down towards the second or third DRS straightaway, and we're going to be all over the back of fellow Canadian Stroll. A move for P9. We're going to go around the outside. Not even going to be a complicated situation. We breeze around the outside of him. We take the position with under 10 laps to go into P9. What a drive we're putting together once again. Now the battle for the lead is seating up. Fernando Alonso on the one stop. He might not make it easy still for Leclerc, who has a several second gap, 4 seconds on Lando Norris right now for the eventual second place driver now, I'm sure, but Alonso's trying to hold up Leclerc in that Aston Martin. The Ferrari trying to go the long way around as they go through the right-hander. Alonso not making it easy now, but he's going to get the job done. But can Alonso fight back? He's going to have DRS as we head towards the little kink right there in the straightaway on the run towards the left-hander. It's not going to happen. Alonso maintains P2. Let's go briefly through the grid.
What a clinic by Leclerc today. He's been on it ever since lights out. Verstappen on the one stop is a bit off pace like he's been all race long. Can he hold on to a solid finish here?
It will be tough. I think both Sainz and Russell are close enough to get him here. How about Williams? Both drivers again in the top 10. Albon has some work to do to hang on, but Owen is once again in great position. He's really coming into form here late in the year.
He really has. As you see Oscar Piastri having a tough night, I'm sure he was looking for more after winning last time out in Baku. Ollie Behrman as well in place of Nico Hülkenberg this weekend, not having the race he would prefer.
But he is learning, and that is the main thing for him tonight.
And all the way at the bottom, you saw Ricardo having a rough night. Oliver Behrman not doing so hot either. It's really not been well for him, unfortunately, now as we have just a few laps to go. and Albon's 3 seconds up the road. Perez, we're keeping it within striking distance of his Red Bull here. What a feat it would be if we could actually pass that Red Bull in 2 back-to-back races now. Red Bull just not having a great night in general. Albon drops down to P8. We might have a chance to get him here very, very quickly now. It's not going to be taking long as we come through towards the end of the DRS straight, and we're all over the back of him, and he is really struggling for pace now. We're looking for the opportunity to overtake our teammate. Oh, it's going to be maybe right here now. A little bit of contact, no big deal. We'll go around the outside of Albon. Thank you very much. Into P8. Less than 2 seconds between myself and Perez. He's trying to open up that gap. Alonso's now been run down by Norris, who's looking to pass him. Verstappen in P5, but he's about to lose a spot to George Russell. So that's going to be interesting. The Red Bulls, they've had nothing all night long, and they're going to lose points to the Ferrari team, who's not far off in the Constructors' Championship. Perez has had his recent struggles, and that is putting Red Bull in a bit of a vulnerable position. Lap 29, Russell, Verstappen battling, but it went to Russell. Verstappen to P6, Perez P7, but I think we can still beat him. We're reeling him in. Of course, he put a lot more laps on his mediums after pitting off the hards that he spun out on, and of course the mediums were quicker than the hards. We are all over the back of Sergio Perez, coming to the final couple of laps of the Singapore Grand Prix. What can we do with 2 to go? It's Leclerc in control now. It looks like Sainz will have to settle for P4. An Alonso podium in Singapore is very much in the cards now. Right to the back of Perez, to the left side, wheel to wheel with the Red Bull again, just like Baku last episode. Now up the inside through the left-hander. We leave a full width there for him to work with now. We continue side by side through the right-hander, wheel to wheel. We come out on top. Another position gain, and it's against the Red Bull. 2 back-to-back drives where we continue to impress the grid in the teams around us now, up into P7 in the last couple of laps of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately, Albon's dropping outside of the points before this race comes to a close. One stop didn't quite work for our teammate there as we start the final lap in Singapore. Ferrari have not won yet this season. Leclerc, of course, been seeking that first win, trying so hard. Same for Carlos Sainz, who continues to fight for his future in Formula 1. But it's all Charles Leclerc in control finally today. McLaren again stepping up. Piastri struggled all race along, but Lando Norris up there in P2 off of a podium last episode, and of course Piastri getting the win. But Charles Leclerc finally is going to make it happen. Through the final turn, Charles Leclerc comes through to win in Singapore. Ferrari and Leclerc back on top, and they will gain points all around. Leclerc second in the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari will gain points on Red Bull as Verstappen will bring it home P6. We're going to bring it home P7 over Perez, who drops to P8 after his fumble. P8 in Singapore for Perez. P7 for us. We will absolutely take that. What a night again. Unbelievable stuff, guys. Thank you. That's 2 in a row. I mean, let's keep this going. Incredible stuff. Thank you so much.
Let's go, mate. Great drive. Awesome.
We're making great progress. Let's keep it up.
And here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Ferme after a fantastic race.
An incredible drive for us again. Surely we have to have the eyes of other teams, but of course we know seats are not very much available for next season as Charles Leclerc gets to celebrate victory, and it ends up being Sainz who did get Alonso before the race ended, so Alonso misses out on a podium. Sainz got him actually on the final lap of the Grand Prix, so unfortunate for Fernando. Spaniard passes Spaniard now, but great for Carlos Sainz, who continues to say, hey, I belong in a top tier ride, but what's his situation? Is it Mercedes? Is it Red Bull? Is it maybe here at Williams? Where am I going to go? There is some cards that need to be sorted out, and we're going to have some answers soon enough. Ricciardo at the bottom of the last running drivers, unfortunate for him in the driver's standings. Take a look. Verstappen's lead cut to 53 points over Leclerc. That's going to spice things up. It's not quite over yet in the Drivers' Championship, and Red Bull is only 41 ahead of Ferrari. They've got some decisions to make with Sergio Perez soon. We'll have to wait and see what their plan is. I'll see you guys next time in Circuit of the Americas. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.